Live to see it, friends, and welcome to The World Transformed. This program is your guide to an astounding future that lies ahead, one that will be here sooner than you think, and one that you have an important role to play in bringing about. The World Transformed, we want to introduce you to what may be the biggest transformation of them all, the one that begins with considering and acting on the almost limitless possibilities that lie ahead, and that ends somewhere beyond the reach of the human imagination. So, when does this amazing future begin? Well, today is the day. My name is Phil Bowermaster, and with me in the virtual studio is my co-blogger, co-futurist, and co-host, Stephen Gordon. Hey, Stephen.
Hey, Phil, how are you?
Well, I'm super fantastic. How are you, my friend?
Man, I'm doing great.
Happy Friday to you.
Yeah, we made it to the end of the week, so that's awesome.
We made it through another one. We have 3 shows. Well, we will have done 3 shows by the time we finish here, and we're kind of on part 2 of a sort of a two-parter that we started Wednesday. Wednesday we were talking about human evolution and what it's going to take for us to get control of human evolution, for us to be kind of the drivers of a self-directed evolution, and the question of, are we really moving ourselves in an upward direction? Tonight we're going to talk about what if we're not? What if humanity's next step is more of a path to obsolescence? What if we're about to be replaced by a new contender on the evolutionary path, which is pretty obvious what that contender would be, but we'll get into it here. So let's just jump right into this. We're going to talk about the increasingly complex relationship between ourselves and our machines. This is a topic that we've touched on many times. We've talked about how automation is impacting employment, how it impacts the way we interact with each other, and ultimately, is it going to impact who we are on the planet and who's in charge on the planet? So let's think about this. I want to start with a story, Stephen, that you sent me the link to, which I think is very interesting, which has to do with how changes, I should say rapid developments in smartphone technology are driving us to a better place in terms of being able to explore space. How do those things work together?
Well, our smartphones are small computers, and it's getting to the point that a smartphone could be a desktop replacement. It won't be long that you could plug a keyboard into a smartphone and a video monitor and do all the word processing you like. It's or any other kind of application you want to run. These phones are becoming more and more sophisticated computers, and they're small. They run on they run on processors that are not that just sip it at power rather than gulp it. The ARM company out of the UK has provided a whole lot of low power chips for these smartphones, and so that's ideal for probes that are going to say Mars, for example. It's low in weight. It doesn't take a lot of power. These phones do remarkably a lot of things. So, would they actually send an iPhone as a probe? I suppose they could, but it's not likely. They're likely to take the technology that is being put into these smartphones and then adapt them in such a way that and put it into a probe, and you make these probes cheap, so that maybe instead of sending one and then if it fails, then you've just lost the entire mission. Why not send 10? And that way if half of them work, you got 5 working on the surface of Mars. So that's what that's about. And this article was talking about how we're going to use more autonomous probes instead of the probe moving an inch and then waiting for 40 minutes for the signal, 20 minutes to get back to the Earth, and then 20 minutes for new instructions to come to it so it can move another inch. Why not have it to where they have the ability to think themselves, and they decide and they say, okay, that rock looks interesting. I'm going to go over there. I'll analyze it and I'll send the data back. But I'm going to move around autonomously on the surface of Mars. So much more could be done with that kind of model. And
is it just about this? I can't show my computer because I'm using my computer, but I use an old, and it's not all that old, but I use an old-fashioned kind of computer. I'm on an HP desktop computer. My monitor is here, okay? It's this big thing, and I've got a big stand-up tower of a computer. I've got, look at this, old-fashioned thing I got going here. I got one of these, right? I'm using this. Okay, I got all this, right? I got all this stuff, and all of it combined is less than this.
That's right.
This is actually more powerful. Is that the whole story? That because we can turn all that into this, we can put that much more processing power, that much more intelligence into something that we shoot out into space?
Exactly, and at very low cost. The fact that we've taken advantage of economies of scale
Right.
with these things. I mean, they make a million of these things, and if they make if they make that many of them, then just one more for a probe going to Mars is a small thing.
Oh, and I
And
should say, without a plan, at full retail, about a third the price of the computer. So,
right.
and that's not even counting the monitor and all that stuff. So,
Well, yeah, for example, there's a group out of Israel that intends to win the Google Moon Prize. Okay, for putting a probe on the moon, and there's certain things that the probe has to do once it gets to the moon. It has to move around and everything. And one of the things that it's going to be off-the-shelf components. And Israel, and it's not the country of Israel. It's like one university
right.
within the country of Israel, and it's going to basically be an iPhone with an electric car. A little toy a radio controlled a little RC car. Is basically what their moon probe is going to be. All off the shelf components that was going to launch to the moon. So, that's it creates opportunities for smaller and smaller groups of people to do more and more interesting things. And it's becoming almost a hobby to send these things into the upper atmosphere on weather balloons,
Right. So you can
get a video of
right.
of an iPhone getting video of the curvature of the Earth and the darkness of space, and then it parachutes back to Earth and you recover the video. People have done that. I mean, we're talking like a weekend space project.
Right. Right.
People do that sort of thing now.
And the expensive part is the balloon. Right,
Exactly.
not the computer. I mean, people risk losing their cell phone because it would be so cool to take that video.
Right.
Now, does this have anything to do with people being made obsolete? How could it? I mean, we're just talking about phones getting cheaper and better, and so what's the big deal? And yet, as I unpack all of these scenarios you've been laying out, yes, it absolutely does, and it's the subtle way that this can happen that people don't even notice. If you the obvious thing is anytime you send a robot probe up, it's in lieu of a human being. Well, that's a good way to go, actually. That's a good way to explore space. We were talking about this on Monday. Space is dangerous and expensive, and humans don't fit in very well. So you can send a machine instead of us. But they are going instead of us. They're going there in our place. I'm not going up 150,000 feet on a balloon to take a picture of the Earth, but I might send my phone up to do that.
Right.
It's a completely different thing. So yeah, we're sort of outsourcing the experience to an extent, an experience we might not ever even consider having ourselves, but still outsourcing it. But then when you talked about, well, we're going to put enough, we've got it small enough and smart enough that we can put some smarts in it, and now it's going to start making decisions for itself. Wow, that's a big step. Suddenly, we don't need quite as much control from the human side of the space exploration equation as we did before. Now we've got these things acting a little bit autonomously. So even this story that seems to be all about miniaturization and all about economies of scale and doesn't seem to be anything about taking people out of the equation really is about that. And in fact,
Yeah.
ultimately, every story that you see about computers getting smaller and faster and more efficient has some component to it of, and people don't have to do as much as they used to do. That's one less thing a human being has to do, has to be there for, has to be responsible for. Let's take a more, I think, telling example. There was a story. It had I think, an undeserved headline. Let me open this one up because I want to read the headline back the way they presented it. Today's apps are turning us into sociopaths. Now, that's not really what this article is about. I didn't think. I thought that that was link bait to call it turning us into sociopaths. But it's a pretty interesting story about people beginning to outsource not just physical tasks, not just taking pictures in weather balloons, but real human interactions. What should be real human interactions to phone apps?
Right.
And we talk about this app called Bro app. It's your relationship wingman. Now, this is, to me, it doesn't even seem like it's much of a wingman, because a wingman is supposed to be there to, to kind of help you out.
Yeah, talk
This,
you up.
yeah, this wingman is taking over for you, right?
Yeah,
Because basically the Bro app is now going to send all those time-consuming, irritating texts to your girlfriend, so you don't have to. Am I describing this thing correctly?
oh yeah, yeah. The idea, of course, is that by the time you get home from your day, whatever your day is, she's all buttered up. I mean, she's feeling good towards you because you've texted her all
Bro
day,
app has been priming her all day long.
all day long.
Right.
So when you walk in the door, she just greets you with a big old kiss and then let your imagination roam. So yeah,
Things take their course at that point. Yes.
yeah, I mean, it's all day long. She's getting texts ostensibly from you about how beautiful she is, or this or that, and turns out it's just an app that's sending her these. This is called the Bro app, and so yeah, that's I can see. It may be overstating to say that app would be turning you into a sociopath, but I think that a sociopath might enjoy an app like that.
Well,
I don't think that's unfair to say.
now if you read the article, the argument goes like this. Look, not everybody's great at sending the right kind of text that's going to make a person happy anyhow. I mean, we're talking about men and women primarily. You don't hear a lot about women getting Bro apps so that they can automate texting to their guys, but it might happen a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and use the example of a guy sending a text to his girlfriend. He's happy because he doesn't have to do this, and maybe he's not very good at it, and he's often, fat thumbing the wrong word anyhow, and predictive text gets him in a lot of trouble, and he says the wrong thing, and it does exactly the opposite of what it's supposed to do. She's happy because she's getting all these wonderful texts, and their relationship is improving. So what could possibly who could object to this? Who could have a problem with this?
She would object to it. As soon as she learns that all this is fake, she's gonna drop kick him and be hurt and everything else. So here's my idea. I think that we can do Bro, but in a socially acceptable way.
Okay, let's hear it.
And here's my idea for
You're
Bro.
going to be the Bro. You're going to you're going to start texting on behalf of.
Pro. Here's
Yeah,
Bro
okay,
Pro.
let's hear it. All right.
Bro Pro is this. It's actually a network of guys, okay, that in addition to it being an app, it's also networking.
Okay.
And it's it'll send a recommendation for a text that you have to go through and say, you know what, that's a nice text. I think I will send it. Okay. It might recommend, instead of a text, it might recommend a subject matter to talk about, or just prompt you. This is she's taking her break from her job right now. It's 11 o'clock. Send her a text.
So you got a group of guys, and they're all like putting out, here's a possible text. Here's one I sent the other day.
And maybe they grade each. They grade the text.
Sure, they're thumbing them up or thumbing them down. So the good ones are filtering to the top.
This is a good one. This is not so good. And and
this one's romantic. This one's sexy. This one's funny. Whatever, right?
But it leaves the guy in the loop. Okay, at least the guy is, oh well, okay, yeah, I think I will send this one. No, I'm not going to send this one at all. I'm gonna pass on texting today. That kind of thing. And,
here's what happens, Stephen. I'm sorry,
the guy in the loop.
Stephen. Here's what's going to happen. Okay,
and,
so the girl.
It also, and here's the way you monetize it too, Phil.
Okay, go.
The app, it'll ask when you're during the setup. It asks, your girl's birth date. And of course, it'll recommend, that you buy something at a certain time for Valentine's Day, her birthday, Christmas, any other significant dates, and your anniversary, and of course it'll take you to a website, and then it gets advertising revenue that way. So that's the way it's monetized, and it keeps the guy in the loop. What do you think? What do you think of my idea? Is it less sociopathic, or is it equally as bad?
It's social. It's social by definition, right? It's
Right.
you're crowdsourcing these texts, so it's got to be better. And you're going to have the wisdom of crowds. the smarts of all these guys helping each guy to be a better boyfriend. It's brilliant. Now let me explain, Stephen, why it's going to blow up. Okay, this is
Okay.
it's girls' night out. Okay, the girls are sitting around
And they
and
all get the same text at the same time.
exact. No, she says, "Oh, Tim sent me the sweetest text the other day. You've got to see this." She gets it out, whips it up, and three of them got the exact same text. Game over, man. Okay, that's
It's,
the.
uh, yeah, I can see how it could go the wrong way.
So
So,
you got to think about that. But other than that, though, I think you're on the right track. Definitely, a social app is better, feels like a better solution
at
than
least the guy has to think about it.
yeah.
He has to. He's in on the decision as to when to text and what to text, and he's just being prompted. Be a better person.
Right.
Is what this app is basically prompting him to do.
Yeah.
And so I see it as it's not just more socially acceptable, but also it's a little bit it could it's a path to improvement.
Although
So
you could actually have a middle ground where the people who design the app, they write a bunch of really nice texts, and the interface is still the same. That this system is going to just be suggesting these texts to you without everybody writing the same ones. But there's still a possibility of people getting the same. But you know what? That could happen anyway, right? I mean,
were you right? Were you reminded in this article? Were you reminded of the movie Her and that guy's job?
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same kind of idea. In the movie Her, Joaquin Phoenix plays a man who writes love letters for other people for a living. He carries on their whole correspondence for them. And actually, something you said just a minute ago reminded me of the discussion we had about Her, which was, one of the things, one of the conclusions we came to was if she's not really there, the woman this artificial intelligence he's fallen in love with, if there's actually no consciousness there, the experience is exactly the same for him, as long as he doesn't know she's fake, as long as he doesn't know that there's no one there. It's the same thing here. If you're getting all these fake texts and you think they're real, everybody's happy. As soon as you find out that it's a machine doing it and not your boyfriend doing it, everybody's not happy anymore.
Yeah.
The willing suspension of disbelief, or the the veil over the technology replacing human behavior has to be there, because no one's going to accept a technological substitute for a real human interaction at this point. At this point, you would look at that and you go, absolutely not. And that's why I think we're still fairly safe from outsourcing too much of our humanity, because we realize that if it's fake, people aren't going to go for it. We realize that it's got to at least seem real, and so you have to come up with a better version of the Bro app, or no one's going to go for it. But what happens if we keep moving in this direction? If machines keep taking on more and more? Well, I've linked this story about Ray Kurzweil, and about the job he has at Apple. And do you know what? Have you read this article? Do you know what?
Actually, he's at Google.
At Apple, excuse me, at Google. Do you know what? Do you know what Ray's job is at Google?
Chief Technologist Officer or something like that. I don't. Basically, his job there is to figure out how we get to AGI. I think. Am I saying it right?
You're on the right track, and here's how he wants to get there. I'll just read a snippet from the article. Kurzweil's job description consists of a one-line brief. I don't have a 20-page packet of instructions, he says. I have a one-sentence spec, which is to help bring natural language understanding to Google. And how they do that is up to me. So it actually all hinges on language. I'll read a little bit more. It says, language, he believes, is the key to everything. And my project is ultimately to base search on really understanding what the language means. When you write an article, you're not creating an interesting collection of words. You have something to say, and Google is devoted to intelligently organizing and processing the world's information. The message in your article is information, and the computers are not picking up on that. So we would like to actually have computers read. We want them to read everything on the web and every page of every book, then be able to engage in intelligent dialogue with the user to be able to answer their questions. Now, he didn't say AGI, right? He didn't say singularity. He didn't say artificial intelligence. But tell me what that is, if that's not what that is. When you've got Google actually reading all the books and being able to have a conversation about them, how close are you to AGI at that point?
You're there basically.
Yeah.
And he says it this way. I want to just read this. In 15 years' time, computers are going to trump people. they will be smarter than we are, not just better at doing some than us and knowing what the best route to a particular place is. They already do that, but they're going to be able to understand what we say, learn from experience, crack jokes, tell stories, flirt. Ray Kurzweil believes that by 2029, computers will be able to do all the things that humans do, only better. That, to me, is the singularity. That's another definition of the singularity. And 2029 is the date that he puts on it.
Well, it's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah.
You know? We will most likely live to see that. Yeah, we will most likely live to see that. So here's what I'm saying. So Ray Kurzweil is not saying in this interview singularity, and he's not saying AGI. He's just saying, oh, I'm just going to teach the computer how to read and talk. And he's also not saying the computers are going to take over. He's not saying the robots are going to take over. I'm the one who put that spin on it. And he's certainly not saying that human beings are going to be obsolete. I'm the one putting that spin on it too, because here's the real potential scenario that Ray doesn't discuss, but that I think we have to keep in mind. If we're already coming up with things like Bro App, with the limited processing capability that we have now, what in the world are we going to be coming up with when we've got machines with real natural language capability that can really have conversations, that can really interact with people the way people do? I think the temptation to outsource human interaction will become much greater. Not even the temptation, the opportunity to do it will become so much greater that we will just start outsourcing a lot of human interaction to the machine world, and we might end up replacing ourselves with machines without ever even having intended to do that, without ever even thinking of that as a possibility.
The joke that was not really a joke when I said it a number of years ago, Phil, was that Google. I claim Google as part of my brain.
Right. Right.
And that was back when I just was, had it at a desktop. If I was plugged by wire into my desktop computer at my home or at my office.
Right.
Of course, now we carry smartphones with us everywhere, and then there'll be wearable technology right around the corner that will be even more intimate, and then it'll actually will be in our brains. So at what point does the distinction become meaningless? Where do I stop and technology start? I think that's going to be the key. I've got a bro app that texts you, sweetheart, but that's part of me. That's
right.
My avatar. Is part of what I consider to be myself.
He does my job for me.
Yeah,
what are you complaining about?
Yeah, exactly. He's also sending you candy, and
he remembers.
Yeah, so he is me.
Right.
So that's. I think that society is going to be changing. It's going to be an interesting trip.
Well, it comes down to a really critical question, and I think you just hit it right there. Whether we're going to be made obsolescent, or whether we're going
merge
to grow stronger, to evolve, has to do with whether it's not about whether the machines are going to take over. They are. They're going to take over. The question is, when they take over, are they us or are they replacing us? Are they? Have we become them and them become us, or they're just going to carry on and we're not in the loop anymore? In the example you just gave, you're still very much vitally a part of it, right? You haven't just become a passenger or just faded off. That's the greatest danger is the person dies, right? But Bro App just keeps right on plugging, all the pieces that were there, they just keep doing their thing. And, other than the fact that you don't show up at mealtime anymore, the world doesn't even notice, right? Because Stephen's still at work and he's still sending his texts and all those kinds of things. If that were to happen, then, we're gone, right? We're replaced by this kind of echo of ourselves, this kind of reflection of ourselves. But if we're still there, if we're still in some sense driving it, if the whole thing is working from us and through us, then we've not been made obsolete. It's just our old clunky way of doing things that's been made obsolete.
Yeah.
So which do you think it'll be?
I really think that it will merge, and the distinction will become meaningless at some point, and it will not be a shocking thing that it's. Bro App is, I'm the bro,
right.
That's sent you the nice text. and I think it'll be less shocking than it is currently. These sort of things.
I think so too. I think
Yeah.
I think for one thing, things like Bro app will become much more personalized, and they'll be much more integrated to who we are, not just integrated to our bodies and person, not just more cunning technology, but able to model us better and able to better reflect who we actually are, and so they become kind of an amplification of that, or just an extension of that didn't exist before, in the exact same way that you were saying that Google became kind of an extension of your memory, kind of an extension of your ability to think. And if we do it that way, and I think it's very much to Ray Kurzweil's credit that he never even considers any other alternative, any other example. As far as he's concerned, when the machines take over, that's us taking over.
Yeah.
To the point that I don't even think he touches on. Does Ray ever talk about scary robot takeovers? I suppose he dismisses them from time to time, but in this article and elsewhere, that's his assumption, and I think we've got to make sure that that assumption is right. But as long as that assumption is right, then we're not moving out. We're moving up.
Okay, I agree.
All right, Stephen. Well, what's our music?
Our music tonight is "Walk Away" by Marquis Adora.
Marquis Adora with, I'm sorry, was it Walk Away?
Walk Away.
Walk Away. All right. Thanks, Stephen, for putting it together. 3 great shows this week. Thanks for being a part of that. Thank you all for being with us on The World Transformed. We'll be back on Monday with 3 brand new shows. And until next time, live to see it.
Everything that ends begins and none of the potential seems to last. From today until tomorrow, everything that's here will have to pass. Do you even know? Do you even care? Am I just a reason for the cross you bear? What do you suppose we love and we hate? It's a crucifixion of our fate. I can do this sitting down, just leave all your connections with me. Even when I'm lonely and you were standing right beside me. Do you even know? Do you even care? Am I just a reason for the cross you bear? What do you suppose we love and we hate? It's a crucifixion of our faith. You tell me what I'm feeling, that I'm not that appealing, that I can do much better. Walk away. Walk away. You tell me what I'm feeling. Walk away. That I'm not that appealing. Walk away. That I can't do much better.